Despite being written off WWE television this week, the Usos are reportedly allowed to enter Canada for Elimination Chamber despite their prior legal issues. Randy Orton could be nearing a WWE in-ring return if a bootmaker is to be believed. Baron Corbin and JBL split this past week on WWE television. We've got more details as to why that is. Tony Khan says WWE and AEW are in a very real war right now in professional wrestling. SmackDown sets a record for the market it was in this past week. Nathan Fraser makes his NXT return at a live event over the weekend. Oney Lorcan has retired from professional wrestling despite him being a WWE Performance Center coach. The Hurt Business MVP says he's trying to get the faction back together, and Santos Escobar pays the ultimate respect to Rey Mysterio after SmackDown. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into in the world of World Wrestling Entertainment. And let's start off talking about the Usos, of course. Elimination Chamber is next weekend in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. The Usos status for the show is definitely up in the air. We might have some more details as to why they were written off WWE television, why it could be a red herring, what's going on with the Usos when it pertains to Elimination Chamber, and their latest development when it comes to the Bloodline and Roman Reigns. Of course, WWE is set to hold its Elimination Chamber premium live event next weekend. It's the final stop on the road to WrestleMania. The main event of the show is the highly anticipated clash between Roman Reigns and Sami Zayn for the undisputed WWE Universal Championship. Now, heading into the event, one big question mark has loomed over the match, however, and that is regarding the status of the Usos, specifically Jimmy Uso, for the show. Jimmy Uso has previously been unable and unavailable to enter Canada due to his history with DUIs, with many believing that Paul Heyman and Roman Reigns telling Jimmy that the Usos should, quote, stay home next week was done as a way to write them off the show, as next week's SmackDown is also set to take place in Canada in addition to the Elimination Chamber event. However, in an update from Dave Meltzer on Wrestling Observer Radio, this may all be for nothing, as he claims that both Usos are indeed cleared to enter the country. He said, quote, and this is kind of a back and forth between Brian Alvarez here, so bear with me, but Brian Alvarez says, quote, I don't think Jimmy can get into Canada, but maybe Jay is going to show up. Meltzer says, quote, I was told they are okay. Alvarez says Jimmy can too. Meltzer says, I will check again, but when it first came up, I said, like, are they cleared for Canada? And I was told they're both cleared. Alvarez says, quote, well, one way or another, they're not supposed to be there. Meltzer said, quote, I don't know if it's a swerve or a storyline. Alvarez said, quote, well, I'm sure they're going to show up to set something up, whatever they're doing with Sami at WrestleMania and Kevin. I mean, Kevin hasn't been around, so, you know, he's going to show up to make a triumphant return to save Sami at the end. I guess it just depends how they get to it. Obviously, as I mentioned, there's been a lot of speculation about the Uso status. I did speculate that the whole situation with Paul Heyman telling Jimmy Uso not to show up next week could be a red herring. It could be a situation where Jimmy doesn't show up because he's following orders. Meanwhile, Jey Uso does show up as he pledges his allegiance to the Bloodline at the end of the show. Seemingly, it looks like we're going to get Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn versus the Usos at WrestleMania for the undisputed WWE Tag Team Championship. So logically, you would have either Jey or Jimmy or both cost Sami Zayn the undisputed Universal Championship at Elimination Chamber. Again, when it comes to whether the Usos can enter the country, Dave Meltzer says yes, but for a lot of things nowadays with Dave Meltzer and WWE, if it's an opinion, we don't know, and his sources aren't exactly watertight anymore, so as we are 6 days away from the event, anything is possible and nothing is off the table for the head of the table. Let's talk about Randy Orton and possibly an in-ring return for WWE on the horizon in the very near future. An update has emerged on Randy Orton ahead of a potential return to the ring following his lengthy WWE absence. Orton hasn't wrestled since RK Bro dropped the Raw Tag Team Championships to the Usos in May of 2022. While there has been some concern that the severity of Orton's back issues may cause him to retire, recent photos of the Viper have led to speculation that Orton is currently training for an in-ring return. Wrestling bootmaker Jose G. Sands recently made some interesting comments while replying to a fan on his Facebook story. Sands revealed that Randy Orton has reached out to him about a potential order ahead of his return. Noting that he has also received an order from Cody Rhodes ahead of his huge title match, Sands said, quote, I haven't made them yet, but Randy Orton contacted me via email for his return. Currently, Drew McIntyre and Bray Wyatt are some of the biggest superstars. Today, I received an order for boots for Cody for WrestleMania. Of course, the American Nightmare is currently slated to face Roman Reigns for the WWE Undisputed Universal Championship in the main event of WrestleMania 39. While there is no word on when Orton plans to return to action, it is interesting to hear that Orton's order was placed before the WrestleMania 39 headline act. Some have speculated that Orton will make his return at the April 1st, April 2nd event, with others predicting that Orton could be a surprise for the Raw after WrestleMania, traditionally one of the biggest nights on the WWE calendar specifically for TV. It is possible that Orton isn't ready to make a return just yet and is just making sure that he has new gear prepared for if and when he decides to enter the squared circle once again, or if he decides to ever step back inside the squared circle in his career. Of course, if we get any more details, we'll let you know here on the channel, but certainly it could be something or it could be nothing. Again, it could just be a situation whereby Orton wants new boots to train for an in-ring return, not necessarily to actually make one in the immediate future. Orton does look to be in great shape, but he did have back fusion surgery, or spinal fusion surgery, late last year or around the summertime of last year, so we don't really know, and I think that's by design, particularly on the end of Randy Orton. Do we expect him to be having a match at WrestleMania? Probably not. It's probably too soon. Could we see him make a WrestleMania appearance? Absolutely a possibility. The Raw after Mania? Absolutely possible too. What that would entail, we don't know. Would he reunite with Matt Riddle in RK Bro? Would he go after a former rival like Bray Wyatt? Of course, the last time that The Fiend was seen was at WrestleMania against Randy Orton. Could they both pick up where they left off? Anything certainly is possible when it comes to the former world champion. This past week saw the end of the Baron Corbin JBL storyline on WWE television, and we've got some more details as to why. The Baron Corbin JBL alliance is over because WWE felt like it just wasn't working the way they had hoped. Sometimes stories take place on WWE programming that just don't work out, and that's what happened to the Baron Corbin JBL pairing on Monday Night Raw. Baron Corbin was traded to Raw from SmackDown on the October 17th show to mercifully put to an end his run as Happy Corbin. However, Corbin didn't get moved over to Raw alone because he had WWE Hall of Famer John Bradshaw Layfield as his manager/mentor. The former wrestling god JBL claimed that Corbin was a modern-day wrestling god. As expected, that regularly drew boos from the audience. With JBL by his side, Corbin picked up some wins in the early going, but then losses started to pile up. During the Men's Royal Rumble match, Corbin entered at number 14 and was eliminated by Seth freaking Rollins in about just 7 seconds. This past Monday, on the February 6th edition of Raw, Corbin lost a 4-minute match to Dexter Lumis, while JBL looked visibly angry at ringside. Later on in the show, in a backstage segment, JBL told Baron Corbin that he is channel-changing television. JBL said that his Hall of Fame career has lost all credibility because of Corbin. When JBL told Corbin he does not belong near the Hall of Famer, Corbin said that he'll do better. At that point, JBL said you can't polish a turd, and he tried, and JBL walked away. After Raw, it was reported that JBL is not scheduled to appear regularly on WWE TV going forward. The Corbin-JBL pairing lasted less than 3 months. During a recent episode of Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer commented on WWE's decision to pull the club on JBL serving as the manager of Corbin. Quote, "They gave up on it. Obviously, this wasn't the plan. The guy in charge, that's Paul Levesque, aka Triple H, felt it wasn't working and that was it. Where they go with Corbin, I don't know. It felt very much like a burial for Corbin. He's had so many gimmick changes, there's nothing wrong or right with him, but in the pantheon of stars, he's just not at the top star level. I think they wanted him to be at that level, and they gave him every chance to be at that level. He's just a guy, a tall guy, but he's just a guy." Very harsh words from Dave Meltzer there. I think in reality, this story didn't work because they didn't really commit to it. He still had the Happy Corbin music. He still really looked like Happy Corbin. Yes, he wasn't called Happy Corbin. He was called Baron Corbin. And yes, he dropped the hat, but that was about it. He didn't commit. And what's next for Corbin? I don't know. Maybe he'll go back to bum-ass Corbin, which again was probably the most entertaining Baron Corbin that we've seen. Whether or not we'll get there, we'll have to wait and see. Tony Khan says that there is a real war going on between WWE and AEW. When Triple H took over as the head of WWE Creative back in July, speculation began about which former WWE stars could return to the company. While numerous free agents have since returned to WWE, other names speculated were names that are currently contracted to All Elite Wrestling. This led to AEW sending a warning email to the company, as various AEW stars had alleged to Khan that WWE had reached out to them following the change in regime. Khan spoke about the alleged contract tampering on the Dan Labard show, where he said that he believes there is a real war between the two companies. He said, quote, "I only know what people have come to me and alleged, But I do know it's a real war between AEW and WWE, and the fans are interested in it, and that was a part of the original business model of AEW. Was I knew wrestling fans, frankly, are very interested in wrestling free agency and wrestling wars, and I believe we could create a free agent market that is definitely a real thing now, and that would be a big part of the story. I think we truly, truly hate each other, and I think it makes for really exciting TV, and it makes for a fun, exciting wrestling war. Really, really hate each other. Strong words by the AEW president. Is that Tony Khan trying to make his company seem bigger? Is that a situation of number 2 making enough noise so number 1 actually says something? What do you think? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I know you can sound off on this one. Let's talk about SmackDown this past week, and the trend of WWE setting records for every city they enter at the moment continued this past Friday on SmackDown. This week's edition of WWE Friday Night SmackDown set a huge record in the Connecticut market. The show emanated from the Mohegan Sun in Montville, Connecticut. Per Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful, this week's edition of SmackDown was the highest grossing event in that market that WWE has ever had. Sapp took to Twitter to note, quote, per internal WWE live events reports, last night's WWE SmackDown at the Mohegan Sun in Connecticut was said to be the highest grossing event in that market in WWE history. Of course, the show is headlined by an Intercontinental Championship number 1 contenders bout, which saw Madcap Moss surprisingly defeat Rey Mysterio, Karrion Kross, and Santos Escobar to earn a shot at Gunther's Gold. Also on the episode, Jey Uso returned to WWE TV to defend his SmackDown Tag Team title with Jimmy Uso against Braun Strowman and Ricochet. Sami Zayn also had a promo segment with Paul Heyman before meeting with Jey Uso in the parking lot later on in the show. WWE recently touted the January 28 Royal Rumble Premium Live event as the most viewed Royal Rumble show of all time, with the event also setting an impressive gate record, as has been par for the course for pretty much every show at the moment when it comes to WWE, with both Raws and SmackDowns setting gate records in nearly every city that they host the show in. Nathan Frazer is back in WWE after being away for several months. Over the past few months, several of the NXT UK stars who had been appearing on NXT television were unable to appear due to visa issues. These visa issues have been affecting talent in both WWE and AEW in recent months. Those names, such as Gallus, Ilya Dragunov, Meiko Satomura, have since started to reappear on the show. Another name who has not appeared on the show in months is Nathan Frazer, who last competed in the NXT North American Championship ladder match back at NXT Halloween Havoc. While it appears as though we may be seeing Frazer back on our screen soon, possibly as soon as Tuesday night, as he has officially returned to action in NXT. At last night's NXT live event in Citrus Springs, Frazer teamed with Axiom and NXT North American champion Wes Lee to defeat Joe Gacy, Rip Fowler, and Jagger Reed of the Schism. Wes Lee is set to hold an NXT North American Championship Open Challenge on next week's show, which would seem like a good place as any to reintroduce Frazer to the show. Whether or not it is Frazer, we'll have to wait and see. Tune in on Tuesday night to find out. Oney Lorcan was a name that was previously involved with the NXT brand. Now he's actually a coach at the Performance Center, and he's now retired from in-ring competition. WWE NXT Performance Center coach Matt Bloom has revealed that another Performance Center name has indeed quietly retired. Lorcan, obviously Oney Lorcan, returned to WWE as a Performance Center coach in October 2022, following his release under the previous regime in November 2021 after 6 years on the NXT brand. While some have speculated that Lorcan could soon return to the ring, the former NXT Tag Team Champion recently stated that he's uncertain about his wrestling future. Speaking on Real Radio Monsters, WWE head coach Matt Bloom stated that Lorcan, real name Christopher Gerard, has retired from wrestling. Bloom said, quote, my position now as a head coach, I oversee my coaches, I have an amazing staff, so I gotta give props to those guys. Terry Taylor, Fit Finley, Robbie Brookside, Norman Smiley, Steve Corino, Alexander Winkler, Oney Lorcan, Chris Gerard, who just recently retired from being in the ring, Johnny Moss, and we have a few UK coaches that are on the cusp of being full-time coaches as well. Lorcan last wrestled as Biff Busick in June 2022 during the Beyond Wrestling vs. Wrestling Open event. His former tag team partner Danny Burch returned to the ring for an independent promotion CCW in January after almost 17 months out of action. Of course, we wish Lorcan the best in his post-wrestling career. The Hurt Business, are they going to be coming back to WWE television? Well, MVP reportedly is trying his best. It seems the Hurt Business is reuniting slowly but surely. During recent episodes of Raw, MVP has attempted to get Bobby Lashley on the same page as him, but Lashley's feuds with United States Champion Austin Theory and Brock Lesnar have been roadblocks. Meanwhile, Cedric Alexander and Shelton Benjamin have reunited and were able to score a victory over Alpha Academy. MVP recently appeared on Superstar Crossover and addressed what his plans are for bringing everyone back together. Quote, Vince McMahon makes decisions, and that's way above my pay grade. The decision he made, MVP said, regarding their split in 2021. Why he chose it, I have no idea. But it was his choice. He's the boss. Well, at the time, he was the boss. That's just how things go. We were all scratching our heads, but at the end of the day, I'm going to try my best to get the team back together. Bobby's being a little stubborn, but I got Shelton and Cedric back on board with me, and I'm trying to get Bobby to come around. So we'll see if we can get the Hurt Business back in business. The last time the entire Hurt Business trio competed together was in January 2021, shortly before Lashley won his first WWE Championship. Looking forward though, MVP has a couple of dream matches in mind, as he would like to see the Hurt Business take on the Bloodline so fans can see Lashley versus Roman Reigns, plus Benjamin and Alexander versus the Usos, while MVP and Paul Heyman duke it out on the mic. MVP also thinks the Judgment Day could be good rivals for the group. Again, as to any concrete plans, we haven't heard anything, but with WrestleMania on the horizon, anything's possible. Finally, Santos Escobar and Rey Mysterio exchanged probably one of the biggest signs of respect you can get after SmackDown on Friday. In Lucha Libre law, a wrestler's mask is a sacred thing. After the February 10, 2023 episode of SmackDown, the WWE Universe was able to see a rare and meaningful exchange take place. Following a fatal four-way match to determine the next challenger to Gunther's Intercontinental Championship, which saw Madcap Moss emerge as the victor, WWE's social media team caught up with Santos Escobar as he approached Rey Mysterio in the locker room. The Emperor of Lucha Libre shared a story with the Master of the 619 about how his father, the legendary El Fantasma, took him to watch Mysterio early on in his career and said that the young wrestler was going places. Fast forward to today, El Fantasma's prediction came true and Escobar fulfilled that promise firsthand during their multi-man match that night. Escobar then presented Mysterio with one of his masks to show his gratitude and admiration. Quote, "It doesn't mean that I don't want your legacy," said the leader of Legado del Fantasma, "but hell, I do respect what you are." Mysterio expressed how much this gesture truly meant to him, and he reciprocated by trading a mask of his own to his opponent before calling him the future of Lucha Libre. A luchador's mask is not only a part of the character, a mask can also represent a legacy passed down through generations. When a luchador freely gives a mask to someone, this act is the ultimate sign of respect. To date, Mysterio and Escobar have not faced off one-on-one inside of a WWE ring. The former NXT Cruiserweight Champion Escobar joined SmackDown with his faction Legado del Fantasma in October of last year, joined by a new member in Zelina Vega, where they have been mainstays on the blue brand ever since. But there you go, guys. It's the latest WWE news for you. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe bottom right-hand corner. Remember, you can join the WN365 roster by clicking that join button. You get your badges, your emojis, your members priority chat, and your exclusive members-only content, such as future members-only live streams and members-only videos. The videos we've got planned are the likes of historic match watch-alongs, historic show watch-alongs, debate shows, interviews, possibly call-ins, you name it. It's all going to be available for WN365 roster members, so click that join button. Anyway, guys, have a great Sunday, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.